20 years, we have seen the telecom revolution, and as Akhil says, it is continuing to evolve. I was a small part of this big revolution, starting as a telecom operator to become a equipment supplier, and then I ventured on my own to experience the distribution piece of this business, and on the way, I've learned a lot. We are now at the cusp of the next revolution, which we all are calling by various names as a digital revolution. The leadership of the country has also given a clarion call for digital India. Telecom industry is very much connected with it. It's actually the initiator of this digital revolution. But the space is not just about telecommunication. The next big thing that's happening around and will be in part led by telecom companies is the space of payments. And this is where the digital is going to play a very big role. In a country such as India, where several 100 million people are totally untouched with the progress that's taking place that we all see around us, how the benefit of that progress reaches these people, how they become part of driving this digital revolution and the growth of economy in this country, which we are all talking will grow from $2 trillion to $5 trillion, maybe $7 trillion, becoming the third largest economy in the world. We are playing a small part in this space of payments, and I would like to present to this gathering here some of the work that we have done and how I believe that telecommunication, banking, and payment service providers together will drive this revolution and make it a reality, make it happen. Akhil spoke about whether telecom companies should be a dumb pipe. Perhaps not. Yes, but being a pipe is the most important thing. Just last week, I was attending a conference at the Harvard on the payments, where I had a chance to meet the luminaries, including the inventor of the World Wide Web, some Tim Berners. And they all felt that it is not something that is the domain of one single business entity, that is telecom or IT, or, it's a lot of people have to come together. Like a World Wide Web was created for communication, there has to be a World Wide Web for payments. And it's payments that will drive the next 20 years of growth in this country. We are seeing a lot of noise, I would say, and a lot of excitement around e-commerce. In part, it is true. Ultimately, digitization brings down cost, it brings a benefit to the customer, and that is what will drive the business. But it's not an instant affair. It's not something like an instant coffee or something that, e-commerce is suddenly started taking shape and it will eclipse everything else. E-commerce is also something that needs to, in tandem, move with rest of the activities in communication and payments, etc. Digital wallets have been created. The government has taken several steps to simplify the regulation, make it lighter, so that not just the banking, but people who are outside of banks can participate in driving the banking-like environment, which is what is needed, a low-cost, technology-driven access for bringing financial services and payments at the doorstep of people. 650,000 villages in this country are covered by telecom. You can see people in villages holding mobile phones in their hands, and they're able to talk. But see, these people do not have access to financial services. Jan-Dhan accounts were opened, hundreds of millions of accounts have been created, but are these accounts transacting? These accounts are not transacting. It's important that we create an environment and an ecosystem that can make it possible for the last mile, for the people living on the edges to get access, and that access has got to be brought to their doorsteps. Reserve Bank of India's guidelines for setting up payments bank have already been out. You all know that 40 people have applied for a payments bank license, including the telecom companies, retailers, payment service providers, and there is a lot of excitement around this, and I hope that decisions to award these licenses will be taken very soon. But this is a single most important element to bring prosperity to the rural areas. I mean, there are slides being projected here about oxygen, and I don't want to really make it a forum to talk about my company. I started it 10 years back. It's been in the space of payments. We were aggregating services, providing a digital connect to the retailers at the last mile to facilitate payments, access to people who would pay in cash. Now, here is where I think is very important for everyone to know. Digitizing cash is the most important thing. One of the problems that we have in the system is there is too much of cash, which gives rise to all kinds of problems, malpractices, corruption, and all of the rest. And everybody is talking about how to digitize cash. A lot of e-commerce, when I said in the beginning, is a hype and some of it is misplaced, is still we are converting one form of digital money to another form of digital money in that space. What is really needed is how do you convert cash to digital currency? And that is where it's important to understand play the role that access at the last mile will create. So people pay in cash. If they can convert cash into a digital currency and then they continue to use that digital currency to make payments of all kinds, whether they are for services, whether they are for their products, and whatever else they need, then there will be a cashless society and a cashless environment, which should be the ultimate goal of digitizing the economy. And we are of the belief that this has to happen at the grassroots level, at the last mile. So last mile importance, it has been talked, but it has really not been given a serious attempt. Everybody talks about last mile, but last mile gets ignored. I have myself, as a part of our own initiative in Oxygen, I have traveled to small villages. We are doing some experiments, and we have done some payments and be able to partner in the growth, is that in their hand they have cash, and that cash is neither put through savings, it is not also efficiently used. And if I go back to the slide before, please, I just want to, can you see, this is a map of one district, and there are hundreds and hundreds of districts like this. And the bigger dots you see, the bigger darker portions you see, are where you have banking access. But all of the other small dots are places where there are people living in villages. Now, even if these people have bank accounts, that will be with the banks that are shown in those dark spaces. How are they ever going to make it work? They can't travel to the banks every now and then. It's a cost, it's time. More importantly, it is cost for them, right? And therefore, the importance of creating the access point where all of those small dots are there is very important. And the Payments Bank initiative, which has been so well conceived and being pushed by both the government as well as the RBI, is going to play a role that create access points right there. telecom companies have created a huge distribution environment. There are millions of small stores that sell telecom products, SIM cards. They are also doing recharges. Now, these outlets and many more outlets, you see in every village we know that there is a grocery store which is the hub of activity, and he who runs it, he knows everybody in the village and everybody in the village knows him, and there is a certain amount of trust, and there is a comfort that is available for people to deal with this entity, with this person or this small shop. And this is where one needs to create enablement for not only accepting payments, but being able to operate their small bank accounts. They can deposit cash. If they can deposit, people can deposit cash at convenience within walking distance from their home. They will develop saving habits. They will be quite willing to put their money there. You know, there is microfinance and other activities that are taking place. One of the biggest challenges is how to collect money. It's all about cash, handling cash, moving cash, which is both expensive, also involves risks, and is something that inhibits people from being able to freely transact. And hence, using a mobile access, which is pretty much available everywhere, if we can use the mobile access and create an access which is from the government standpoint is identify and authenticate an individual. If we can create that kind of a low-cost environment, it will create a very big movement that we are all wanting to see to bring people into the financial mainstream. The people are using variously different things, but I personally believe mobile access is the key. Whether you use a mobile phone, in our case, we feel that a mobile phone by itself may not be the most convenient thing for small, uneducated people, and it's also not very handy in terms of form factor. So we have used a device. That device is nothing but a mobile phone, which a bigger screen, bigger keyboard. It has some ports that you can connect a USD, a UID scanner that can authenticate people who have Aadhaar card. 750, 800 million people have got been issued Aadhaar card. And hopefully, with government's push and the clearly defined intent, 1 billion people will have Aadhaar card. Now, there are not many countries in the world who have digital identity at this scale created anywhere. And we have got it, and we should use it. And I think we can create an example of how using Aadhaar as an authentication, which can be very simply done through connectivity with a mobile device of whatever kind, will provide an opportunity for people to to give them bank account, to create insurance, give insurance and give other services, including microfinance and repayments, etc., so that everything can work in order to provide financial access. So I think my theme was, of course, to shared infrastructure. I do not know whether shared infrastructure was something that I would have talked in that sense. There are people